Welcome to the Old Man of the Three with JJ Redick and Tommy Alter, brought to you by 342 Productions. This is episode 201. Anfernee Simons. Tommy, you were not on Monday's show, so I congratulated Legler for being a part of episode 200.
Big 200.
But obviously you have been on the vast majority of every episode, so congrats, bud. 200 episodes.
Pretty crazy.
It is wild.
Every time you hit a number like that, you're like, I can't believe this thing is still on.
I know. We've been doing this. We've been grinding. Tommy, I say this every time, but when we have young players on, you get such a great sense of their mindset, their intelligence, the way they're wired. And you and I both, we spent an hour with Anfernee Simons. We were just so impressed. This is a guy who came straight out of high school to the NBA, the only American to do that, because he did a post-grad year at IMG in Florida, the only American to do that in the sort of one-and-done era since 2005, and didn't play a lot early in his career, and he's an absolute bucket. He's now averaging about 25 points a game, averaged 21 last year. We talked through his career. We talked through the Blazers organization. I love all of the little anecdotes he had about Damian Lillard, and you see the value of a good vet and a good vet superstar and the impact that a guy like Dame Lillard has on the next generation of players.
I was going to say, he talks about it a bunch in the interviews you guys will hear, but you can see the impact of Dame on him as a person. Obviously, there's a basketball connection, but just as a human being, it's pretty sort of striking to see.
I want to touch on our DraftKings Sportsbook segment on the Western Conference. Right now, Minnesota and OKC both with 11 losses. Denver, I called the game last night. Lifeless game from Denver. I mean, they came out
questions for
with
you about that.
Zero fight. Utah playing as well as anyone. They're 9-2 over their last 11. Tied for the best record in the NBA with the Boston Celtics. And they are 12-4 since they inserted Colin Sexton into the starting lineup. They play fucking great basketball.
Yeah.
And Will Hardy is a hell of a coach. And so impressed with Utah. They're right back in the mix. And then you've got the Clippers, of course, with 13 losses, Sac with 14, New Orleans with 15, Dallas 16. And then you get to the Phoenix Lakers, Houston, Utah, and the Golden State Warriors, which are just sad right now.
Yep. With Utah in particular, you mentioned 9-2 in the last 11. They beat Philly without Joel. They beat Denver. They beat Milwaukee. They beat Dallas. They beat Miami with no Jimmy. What do you feel like is happening right now? Is this just a hot streak, or is this something that, maybe there's more to this?
Well, it's interesting because they shot really well to start the game last night. And that evened out by the end. I think they ended up shooting 39% from three. They have this kind of perfect modern shot profile where they take a lot of threes and they get in the paint. And that has really increased, the point paints has really increased in this stretch, this 16-game stretch. They don't take a lot of middies. They don't actually shoot the ball that well as a team. And in this stretch, they haven't shot the ball that well as a team. To me, it's their defense has been much better. They're around a top 10 defense in this 16-game stretch. Extrapolate that, they've been even better over the last 11. They've been even better over the last 6. So to me, their defense has really picked up. They've gone with this smaller lineup, which is crazy. Walker Kessler now coming off the bench, and John Collins, who was great last night, and Larry Markkinen have the bigs. And last night's a great example. Like, I think Will Hardy went into the game with the intention of, we're going to mix it up on Jokic, and they get out to that early lead, and he's just like, all right, at this point, I'm just willing to let Jokic go one-on-one in the post. No doubles. Jokic ends up, of course, with a monster stat line, but outside of a brief stretch in the third quarter with Jamal Murray, no one else could get it going for Denver.
Yeah.
And then on the other end, Denver was just terrible defensively.
Are you seeing the Chris Dunn impact?
I think so. I think he's been good. Will was really high on him. Last night's a great example where they start the game with Chris Dunn. He's guarding Jamal Murray. He's up into the basketball. And look, Jamal Murray is a professional bucket getter. And offensive players, we've seen 2 of them in the last week, not acknowledge good defense, which is fine. I can't remember who it was, but 2 guys have been asked about, like, Maxey was one. They asked him about OG's defense, and he's like, I didn't even bother me. I don't know what you're talking about. I think Quickly was the other one they asked about, or somebody. And it's just like offensive players never admit that, right? Jamal Murray would never admit it. But Chris Dunn into the basketball, disruptive, doesn't get off to a great start. I think that he sets the table for this Utah Jazz team. The team, to me, we talk about the Pelicans all the time. The team to me that has been most impressive has been the Los Angeles Clippers. I mean, this team is 16-3 since December 1. Best record in the NBA. Number 2 offense. They're 14-1 in this stretch when Kawhi Leonard plays. They are getting insane shooting splits. Their offense right now is humming. James Harden, of course, orchestrating that. These shooting splits are insane. In this stretch since December 1, Kawhi at 57% and 48% from 3. Paul George at 49% and 46% from 3. Harden at 47% and 44% from 3. Norman Powell at 50% and 45% from 3. And oh, by the way, your starting center, Zubats, is averaging a double-double. This team, I mean, outside of the Boston Celtics right now, this team is as good as any team in basketball.
I was going to ask you this. They're 21-6 since the lineup change with Harden and Mann. They're 4th in net rating at the moment. They're 2 back of Minnesota for the 1 seed. Is this just like a monster in plain sight?
Yeah. No, it is. And I made the prediction, or my bold prediction, was that they would be in the Western Conference Finals. And I think we need to start talking about them as a tier 1 championship level team. Yeah. I really do. Opening odds for a championship were at plus 1,200. Opening odds for Western Conference Finals champion were at plus 1,000. Right now, they have the 4th best odds in the NBA in terms of championship odds. Only the Celtics, the Nuggets, and the Bucks have better odds. And in terms of the Western Conference, they're right behind the Denver Nuggets. And surprisingly, and I brought this up recently, but surprisingly, the Phoenix Suns are at plus 750.
I don't understand.
Have the 3rd best odds.
I don't understand how the Suns are ahead of the Thunder and the Timberwolves in this.
Well,
what are we missing?
People believe in the big 3. People believe. I feel like that year with the Lakers and Russell Westbrook, like they were not good the whole season, and like their odds really never shifted. They are always like. They always still had the 2nd or 3rd best odds to win the West. I think there's, again, we want to see a longer stretch from the Suns with their big 3. There's some defensive issues, of course, and then there's just some issues about how the offense is functioning right now. A lot of ISO, a lot of standing still, not a lot of movement. Role players outside of Eric Gordon for stretches have not done well. Grayson Allen, by the way, has actually, I'll say Grayson Allen has shot the ball well. Has had some big games. So I should include him in that as well.
I have a question about the Suns. I saw this stat a couple of days ago. I'm not sure if it's changed, but they had a minus 16.1 net rating in the 4th, which was the worst net rating in the 4th quarter since they've been tracking this in 1996, or the worst 4th quarter offense since they've been tracking this. What is that about? You have one of the great scorers of all time. You have another guy who's one of the great scorers in the league right now. How is that possible?
Again, I think it's a function of their offense, and I was kind of praising the offense even all the way to the point where Zach Lowe and I did my podcast to start the season. I went back on his podcast. I think it was late November, early December. They had a little winning streak, and things looked good. And I was praising the spacing because they always had Booker and Durant next to each other. So if you gave help and you doubled, it happened. And I just think right now defenses are just loading to them so hard, and the game typically slows down in the 4th quarter. By the way, why does the game slow down in the 4th quarter? Why do teams for 44 minutes play one way, and then they get a lead, and then for 4 minutes they play a different way? It's weird.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this with Bazula. There's this idea in jiu-jitsu. He's a big jiu-jitsu guy. There's this idea in jiu-jitsu where the strategy is you start at the ankles and you work your way up. You go to the knees, you go to the waist, you go to the torso, the chest, the shoulders. Eventually you get to the neck and head, and that's how you win. And there's this idea that is the closer you get to victory, the closer you are to defeat. Because the closer you move your way up to the neck, your opponent has the ability to shift. And so in jiu-jitsu, this idea of like holding on to victory, well, that's when you're going to lose. It's a general statement.
Interesting.
That's a general statement
super
about
interesting because the fans,
4th quarter basketball.
Fans feel it. Everyone in the arena feels it.
It's interesting to me.
Yeah. I have one question before we get to Ant. What'd you think about Darko's thing after the game the other night?
I liked it. I like the enthusiasm for his team. I would say this. We've had a big enough sample size, 2 seasons now, where there's a disparity in free throws for the Lakers, right? They don't foul, and they get to the free throw line. That is a function of their 2 best players and their ability to get to the paint. It's a function of them having a physical advantage on nearly every player they play against. I brought this up recently. So what LeBron said isn't necessarily wrong. And I think on the flip side, I don't think what Darko said is wrong either, because if you rewatch a lot of those fouls, there was some marginal contact. So I get the frustration. You know, the Anthony Davis flop that got called for an offensive foul in the game-tying 3. Look, was he completely set when he pitched the ball back to the 3-point line? It's close. You got to let that one go. And it's clearly Anthony Davis embellished. It was theatrical. It was exaggerated. To me, it fit the criteria for a flop. Real quick, I hope he doesn't mind. I won't even name his name. It's fine. I won't name his name. Took a red eye last night after the Denver-Utah game. Just woke up, by the way. Phenomenal. Love red eyes.
3-hour red eye.
3-hour red eye. Thank you, Tailwind, for not allowing me to sleep. Took the red eye last night, and there was a referee from the game, the Denver-Utah game, on the flight.
It's probably good you don't name his name.
I've known this guy. I've worked with him. I've known this guy forever. But I got on the plane, and I immediately saw the Maxey 6th foul from the Philly-Atlanta game last night. Trae Young, kind of gets into his body. Maxey's trying to slide. He's kind of defenseless, and Trae Young, initiates the contact and shoots a one-legged, bullshit shot, and they call it a foul. Maxey's out. I asked the ref. I said, "Is this a foul?" And he said to me, "That's the hardest call we have." And a lot of the complaints, I think, when we see these montage clips or these specific plays on Twitter, it's where the defender's sliding, the offensive player's trying to get downhill, there's some contact, the offensive player embellishes it. And he said, that's the thing that I think the competition committee really needs to look at. And we need to set some parameters of what is a foul and what is not a foul. Sometimes it is a foul. Sometimes there was a play last night in the first half, and I'm blanking on who it was, but there was a play last night. It was one of the Denver bench players. They caught the ball at the top of the key. The defender was out of position. It was kind of a delayed transition, and he ripped through immediately, and there's 5 feet of space. The defender tried to close it. He's trying to get to the line. He knocks him off his line, shoots a bullshit shot. He gets free throws. That's a foul. I think there's times where the offensive player just initiates it, and the defender is helpless. You're helpless, and you're sliding your feet. And yeah, you didn't have perfect position where you can sit in there and take a charge in the chest, but there's got to be some wiggle room, I think, here for the defensive player. And I told the ref, I said, as a defender, when I played, that was the play that drove me fucking crazy. Where I'm there. What the fuck do you want me to do? This guy is doing launching himself.
You're doing everything you can.
Yeah.
What about the Indy Boston before we go? Because I feel like that got there was a lot of, speaking of refs, there was a lot of banter about that on all sides afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, man, you really just want to talk about referees today. I love it.
I think
Jaylen Brown got fouled. I mean, what do you want me to say? I have eyes. I thought James Williams has eyes. And I'll use that referee's name because it's very clear who was the lead referee in that crew. I thought that was wild.
It was a crazy game.
I thought that was wild.
Glad Tyrese is doing all right.
Boston with a huge win last night.
Yeah.
I've rewatched some of that on the plane, and that game was sick. The NBA season is in full swing. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app with code JJ. New customers can bet just $5 on the NBA and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code JJ. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/basketball for eligibility and deposit restriction, terms, and responsible gaming resources. All right, this has been our DraftKings Sportsbook segment. Let's get to our conversation with Portland Trail Blazers star Anfernee Simons. Anfernee, I understand Evan Turner was your vet.
Mm-hmm.
How was he as a vet?
He was a great vet. Probably one of the funniest guys I've ever had as a teammate. There's a couple guys that were like one of the funniest. He's for sure top 3. He was just, you know how Evan is.
He's a character out of a movie.
For sure.
He's almost a caricature of himself at times.
For sure. He would have me and Gary Trent have us do insane runs for him. For example, we was here in New York and a buckle broke on one of his Louis Vuitton boots. So he had to go in the middle of the snow and go fix it in Louis Vuitton and just take it to him. And there was another example after long road trips. You know, he had a Ferrari, so he couldn't put any of his luggage in his car. So I had to follow him home at 3 a.m. with his bags, in my trunk, just to take it home to him.
That's kind of a dick move.
Yeah, I'd say so. What was your favorite thing about his house?
Probably his house is crazy. I didn't even get to see the whole house. I only been there maybe 2 or 3 times actually inside. Other than that, I'm just dropping it off and going home.
Before or after the tractor trailer ran?
This is after. This is after.
After the after insurance paid for the renovation.
Yeah, for sure. But that was a crazy. He showed me the pictures of it. That was crazy.
Do you consider yourself a young guy still? You're playing on a young team and you're in your 6th year. Well, you haven't turned 25 yet. Where are you at with your own sort of mindset around your age and your place in the league?
Well, obviously compared to our team now, I think I'm considered an older guy, which is crazy. But I mean, still compared to the league, I still think I'm a young guy.
I got a question for you because every time we have older guys on, guys that I played against, guys that are still playing, but are past a decade in the NBA, some of the guys that have retired around the time I retired, we always talk about the need for vets and the need for vets on young teams. Like your perspective as a younger player, someone who's, hasn't turned 25 yet, came into the league at 18, 19 years old. What do vets mean? Like what is a good vet? Because you just named 2 things that are very playful, and obviously Evan Turner's a dickhead for making you follow him on road trips. But what makes a good vet, and why do we need vets?
I think for sure that we need vets. I think on these a lot of young teams, you can see like it was crazy. Looking back on it, it's crazy that Evan Turner made me do that. But at the same time, I understood kind of the lesson in between of doing it, just to keep the humility in these players coming into the league. And so, I learned a lot from all those guys, just how to operate as a pro each and every day. Obviously, I came into a quote unquote winning situation. You know what I mean? So I think that always helps when you're going into a culture that's already set. And so I think, that's kind of the things that we miss in this league now. It's like kind of you don't see those vets that not particularly playing, but they're just there to coach up all the young guys.
Of the world,
yeah. I think for sure that a lot of the teams are now just rather just use the end of the bench money for a young player that's maybe 18 or 19, has no experience, and want to develop him. But I think the valuable lessons that a vet can teach especially a very young team is what you need. I think that's what can help a younger team even more, propel themselves to, develop even faster.
I had a front office guy approach me recently about going and doing the Udonis Haslem role. Mm-hmm. I'm dead serious. I don't know how dead serious he was. He even threw money out there. I was like, all right, let me go think about this. I think the point you pointed out, and I'm wondering if you had it in the moment or whether that's upon reflection, the point about humility. Because I think some of the stuff that I witnessed in my career certainly was like asshole behavior. And some of it, I think, was exactly what you touched on, which is maintaining a sense of humility and in some ways maintaining a sense of reality. Did you grasp that then as a rookie? or is that now in year 6?
No, I grasped that as a rookie. I understood like I got to pay my dues in order, like, you know what I mean? I'm coming into a new situation. I don't know anything coming in at 19. I'm like, I don't know how the NBA works. I don't know what they do on a daily basis. I'm completely, I don't know anything. So it's like, I'm already came in and I was already, I would say a humble person. And so I would say that, I just took everything with a grain of salt and I just did everything they told me to do because I don't know any better. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay. Even though like, for example, like E.T. Making me, take the bags to his house, it's like, I know it might sound a little crazy, but it's like, it's just what I gotta do. You know what I mean? That's eventually it's gonna end. I don't have to do it, for the rest of my career. So I just, enjoyed it at the moment. And that's what I've been kind of doing my whole career. Is just taking everything and, learning from each situation.
Do you make Scoot do anything?
Not really. Not as much. You know what I mean? It's, they got the backpacks. I like to keep that tradition. The backpacks.
The Hello Kitty backpacks.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I like that because, it's just
you can't be too cool.
You can't.
You can't be too cool
You
wearing
can't.
a Hello Kitty backpack.
You can't. And you see like how the young guys, take that and like you eventually see like they're owning the backpack now. They're gladly wearing the backpack. Like how I was. Like eventually I was like, this backpack is great. You know what I mean?
Some things too.
Yeah, exactly.
Coming from high school, one of the few guys to do this over the last, 5 or 10 years, was there any intimidation factor, like the first couple weeks, first month?
For sure. Yeah, I'm coming in and, I got guys I'm over coming to practice with Dame and CJ. You know what I mean? Guys that, I went on record saying before even I got drafted it. You know what I mean? It's crazy because there's a video, actually Mike Smith's interviewed me when I was at IMG. He's now our assistant GM. And he asked me what 2 guys you think you play alike. And I said CJ McCollum and Dame. Not knowing I was gonna get drafted by him, which is crazy. But yeah, coming into that training camp and seeing those 2 guys, I was just like, just try your best. Like I kind of that whole season I was like, there's gonna be some terrible moments for you. I already knew.
You knew.
I knew. I already knew. Like there's gonna be some terrible moments because I just don't know anything. Like physically, I knew I wasn't like up to par with any of the players, and I knew skill wise that I can keep up, but it's just so much that goes into the game physically that I just wasn't prepared for, and I just was like, each every day, I'm just gonna try to get better, no matter if it costs me of getting embarrassed per se. I was just like, I'm just gonna stick with it.
The obvious follow-up question to that is, if you knew going in that you were going to be outmatched in some ways, especially physically, why sign up for it? Why say fuck college? What?
Because
tell me about the decision behind this. You're the only American player, by the way. Tommy brought up 3 guys since 2015 have come straight out of high school. 2 of them were international players. You're the only American player since this was outlawed. The one and done was, put in place. Basically, my draft class in 06. The only American player to draft out of high school since 2005.
Yeah. So I mean, my whole thought process, because, I was supposed to go to college. I did this post-grad year at IMG. I was supposed to go to Louisville. I was committed there for a year. All that stuff happened at Louisville. And, I had to start my recruitment process all over again. And all the big schools had all their guards and they had all their classes set up. So I'm like, where am I going to go? I want to go to Florida. They had like one more scholarship left. And I think it was already being used as somebody committed that was supposed to sign. And so I'm like, I don't know where to go. So my only options were like NC State.
Good choice.
NC State, Dayton. You know what I mean? It was like there was like those type of like.
I'm sure somebody could have found a scholarship
NC
for
State,
you,
look,
right? Nobody could have found a scholarship for you.
Florida was trying. But looking back, NC State has probably been the best choice because I would have been able to go in there and do anything I wanted. But I was just like, as soon as I found out I couldn't go to Louisville, I was like, and then they came to me so I could enter the draft. My mind completely switched from college. because I'm like, I don't know what can happen in college. You know, I don't. You hear this, you see all the time. You like a lot of players going to college thinking they're going to be there for a year, and they end up being there for 4, and it just completely. You know, nowadays, you know, they don't not drafting 4-year guys anymore. So I'm like, I don't think this situation was set up for me any perfectly.
It's a great point you just made, by the way. I think the one and done thing, in some ways, has exposed certain guys. Like we've had him at Duke, where a guy who maybe in a different era would have left out of high school, and he comes in with the mindset, I'm only going to be here 1 year. He's not as good as he thinks he is, and he still enters the draft and doesn't get drafted, and now he's playing overseas or playing in the G League, right? And no NBA guaranteed money. And I think the mindset around that has really hurt players.
Mm-hmm.
The mindset of like, oh, I'm just going to be there 1 year, because if it doesn't pan out in that year, right, and your expectations get changed, then that could have a ripple effect on your confidence. Maybe you enter the transfer portal, and all of a sudden the team that recruited you out of high school, they're not as invested in you. Like I've advocated for this. You guys should be able to come out of high school. Like you should. If NBA teams are willing to take that chance, and they are, you should be able to come out of high school. It's hurt college basketball.
This is the best time ever for it now. You know, teams are going young, and you know, mind you, I went to IMG during the post-grad year to get ready for college. I took the extra year to get ready for college. So I wasn't even thinking about the NBA at that point. I was just like, I need to get ready for college so I can be ready to play and not be there for 4 years. So, you know, just coming in, I just was like, this was set up like perfectly for me. Like I couldn't go to college. After that, I found out I can go to the league, and I was like, I told my parents right away. I was like, I told the writer that I was in the draft before I told my parents.
The NBA season is in full swing, and when I can't get enough of the action on the court, I spice things up betting on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official partner of the NBA. Right now, new customers bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Big game on Friday night, New Orleans and Denver. Denver coming off that loss that I called against Utah, and New Orleans coming off that blowout win at Golden State. That's going to be a great game on Friday night. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app with code JJ. New customers can bet just $5 on the NBA and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code JJ. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/basketball for eligibility and deposit restriction terms and responsible gaming resources. You mentioned the physicality. What were the other big sort of learning curves for you? That not even just through rookie year, because I want to talk about your second year in a second. Yeah. but early in your career, the learning curve.
It was a lot. Like I had to rethink the whole game of basketball. It was just from my rookie year, just sitting there watching and learning how, you know, Dame and CJ play on a night-to-night basis and how they think the game. And then all the way to my second year when I finally started playing a little bit, and that's when I knew. My second year, I was like, I got a long way to go. I got shit to do after this.
Are there any specific examples of that?
Well, yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think we were playing in New Orleans. It was in New Orleans.
Yeah.
It might have been one of my first start.
You got to start.
Yeah, I did.
I came off the bench, but you got to start.
Was it the game that Melo was it Melo first game?
It was. Yeah.
Yeah. And so did you start?
No, I came off the bench that game.
Okay,
I looked at the box score today.
Okay,
I remember when all this happened.
Yeah, you came in. Okay, you came in.
It
They was like, hey, they told me to get JJ. I was like, all right. I gotta get. I'm young, so I'm like, they know you running around all like multiple screens, and so that's probably the quickest 3 fouls I ever caught in my life.
I think it was like straight possessions.
It was. I think you came off one time. You stopped early. I ran into you. They called it. You caught the ball again. I think it was a pump fake. I jumped. you jumped into him. He got three, and I think I don't know what the last
It was a rip
possession
through on
was.
the last one. By then we were in the bonus.
Yeah.
By then we were in the bonus. But you know what's funny, Tommy? Like I'm a dickhead. And like I check into the game and I knew you were talented.
Yeah.
Right. I had talked to enough people. I knew you were talented. And I thought to myself, all right, I'm year 14. This guy's year 2, didn't play a lot as a rookie. I remember thinking in that game, I'm like, I'm going to bring out all the tricks. I'm going to get to the free throw line. I'm going to bring out all the tricks.
Are your teammates saying anything after foul 1?
No. I mean, there's nothing. They can tell you like what's about to happen, but you really can't truly prepare yourself unless you go actually experience it. So they knew that. They knew that I had to experience all this stuff in order for me to get better. But yeah, like after that, I was, especially that night, it wasn't a good night for me.
Pop, with one of the games I called recently, he was talking about Vic and Vic kind of like having to learn the NBA in real time, which I think every young player has to do. And it doesn't always just happen in your rookie year, right?
Mm-hmm.
It takes 3 or 4 years
For sure.
of seeing these plays and seeing these patterns happen before you really get intuitive and it becomes second nature. And I thought that was really interesting, like the idea of just like learning. It's like, all right, I'm going to make this mistake. I might make it again. I might make it a 3rd time. But like by the 4th or 5th time I see this happening, I should be good. Like when JJ Redick at the end of a shot clock takes a 1 dribble contested shot, I should know he's going to pump fake. Like I should know because I did it for like 15 years.
Right.
Like, everybody's a little aggressive with 5 seconds on the shot clock. Like, but you gotta like actually live through all that stuff
For sure.
to learn it. It's another reason, because Tommy knows this, because I talk about it all the time in the pod. I don't judge rookies. Like all we're looking for is like some level of competence, some level of like growth month to month, first year to second year to third year. It takes time. And there's so many people that are willing to write guys off. Like there's conversations around rookies and their offensive efficiency. I'm like, who fucking cares?
Yeah,
they're figuring out what is a good shot in the NBA for them versus what has been a good shot in high school and college. It's 2 very different things.
I was learning that my second year. Like I was just coming off a whole bunch of ball screens, shooting mid ranges. Mid range is kind of gone now.
Yeah.
I mean, some players can take it still because they're very efficient, but my team wasn't. They didn't like mid ranges that much, and the teams were giving it to me. So I'm like thinking like my high school mindset, like whatever shot they're giving me, I'm gonna take it because I can, and I feel like I can make it, but it's not the most efficient shot to take. So I would that was my whole lesson. My second year was what kind of shots that I want, and so I learned that my third year we came in and I wasn't playing as much as I was my second year, but I was like I'm shooting nothing but threes.
Threes and layups.
Threes and layups, and maybe a layup, but I'm shooting threes. I'm coming up. If I get a chance, if I get a ball screen, if I can't shoot a 3, I'm passing it. And I just simplified the game for myself that year, and it helped me out so much. And then after that, I became known as a shooter, and I was able to expand my game from there.
Do you think that judgment, what you're talking about, is different with rookies with guards versus with front court players? Just like hypothetically, like Jaquez this year versus somebody like Scoot, in terms of like figuring out the pace of the game, depending on their size and like how they play.
I feel like I'm biased because I'm a guard, but I think learning curve for a guard it's steeper for sure because there's so much stuff you gotta learn. You gotta learn different defenses. You gotta learn. I mean, obviously bigs have to too as well, front court players. But I think as a guard, your mind has to be so far ahead of everybody else's in order to be successful. That you have no choice but to learn the game at a rapid pace and be efficient in that.
I think you're right. I think your margin for error as a guard is smaller because even from like a big wing that's coming in as a rookie that has a 7-foot wingspan and is not required to play a lot with the basketball, and then to a big who, again, these guys are 6'11", 7 feet, and the modern big outside of probably less than a handful of guys is not required to facilitate offenses or act as a hub or score in the low post. So ultimately, the guard has to figure out what everybody else is supposed to do. And if you're undersized and you want to score, well, then you really got to get into the nuances of how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought this up to you before we started airing. Like last night against Brooklyn, in watching your buckets, there was a couple times where in a pick and roll you put someone in jail, and you got to your float game. There was a couple times in pick and roll where you came off, they chased over the top, the big was in a deep, deep drop, and rather than settling for that mid-range, twice, once you got to your right hand, once you finished on the left side with a layup, you got downhill attacking the big. Like, to me, like, that's the nuance of it. Like, if you put the ball in somebody's hands and you're like, go play, a rookie, a second-year guy is going to take bad shots. He's going to make bad decisions. Yeah. You've got to, like, learn from that. Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you about development, specifically as it relates to you, because you are from a different generation. And when you came in the league, the things you could do, the moves you could make, the shots you could make were much different than 19-year-olds when I was a freshman in college, or even my rookie year for a lot of us coming into the NBA. Your generation now a lot of you have worked with personal trainers from the time you were 12 or 13 years old. You've got YouTube. You can sit there and watch a YouTube workout and then go put yourself through it. It's different. You guys are more skilled. The part about thinking the game, though, and your own skill development, the balance of that in Portland, like who do you sort of credit for that? The coaches, the player development side, your film, your offseason. I don't know who you work out with in the offseason, but like all of it together, when we talk about player development, it seems like there's so many different layers to it than just like, oh, the head coach has got to develop this guy.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I got to give credit to everybody. They gave me just little things to keep in mind, whether it was one of my old coaches in Portland, one of my coaches now in Portland, obviously Dame and CJ. As a guard, they helped me out tremendously on, people say that now a lot now. You can see like the influence they had on me when I play, and it's just going to the work we put in with my trainer. I trained with Phil Beckner, Dame. That's Dame's trainer, and he introduced me to him my rookie year, and we've been working out ever since. So he's changed the way I train. He changed the way I see the game, and like Dame would even my rookie year, Dame would come to the side. I'm not playing. He would come to me during the game and tell me why he's doing what he's doing in the game. So he was
based on how the defense is playing. Like he's just passing along knowledge.
Yeah, like he basically saying, they're playing me like this. Watch, I'm about to do this. I'm about to do this because they're doing this. I'm gonna set them up now, and then in the fourth quarter, that's when I'm be able to attack. And that's how I think the game now. Now that I understand a lot more. Most of the time when you see me most aggressive is in the second half. So like, people were like, why you went 1 for 5 in the first half and then went this? And I'm like, I'm just honestly trying to see exactly what they're doing to me in every situation, whether it's coming off a pick and roll, coming off a down screen. What do they do if I snake the pick and roll? What do they do if I put people in jail? Or, I'm just hitting the pocket and just trying to loosen up the defense, see if we can hurt them in the pocket, and they swinging out for threes. But like that way of thinking, that he helped me do that, from my rookie year. And I didn't really understand what he was teaching me until I actually started playing a lot more, like my fourth or fifth year. But now I understand, like going into games now, like, okay, first quarter, I am seeing, like, I'm trying to see exactly what they're trying to do. Like last night with Brooklyn, like I knew from the first quarter they was sending me left, and when they brought Sharp in the game, they were up. When they brought Claxton, he was in a deep drop because he's a better shot blocker, and so I just understood that through the first quarter, and I was able to play through there. And so by the time we got to the fourth quarter, I knew it, and they started coming up because I started hurting them from passing and shooting the ball, and so now I just got them on my heels now, and then. Obviously, in overtime, you can see they were double teaming, and I was just able to pass it out, and we was able to get wide open shots from there.
There was also a few really deep step back jumpers, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
there's also the
fourth
individual
quarter,
shot creation.
fourth quarter. Fourth quarter, like Chauncey always talks about it. Like fourth quarter, we looking for matchups, and so it's kind of hard with Brooklyn. They got a lot of
switchable parts,
like size players, and you just out there like, who am I gonna pick? I don't want Dennis Smith. I don't want Dennis Smith on me right now.
I like that.
I don't. I mean, I can give people free game, but I don't like smaller guards on me. I don't like people that just sit under me. Even though I can manage it, but I don't like guards. I'd rather have somebody that's a little bit maybe my size or a little bit taller than me. Because I might be quicker than them or something like that and get past them. But I think we were picking, most of the time like Cam Johnson. I was picking Dorian Finney-Smith.
Cam was a lot. We like Cam, but you guys picked on Cam yesterday.
Too. I like Cam too. Cam's my
guy.
We work out a lot in the summer, but yeah, like we just picking matchups in the fourth quarter. So I'm going to be in a line of ISO situations, and I think that happened in the third quarter when I hit those step backs. But that was just playing the game. It's just you feel. Or it was Spencer Dinwiddie too.
Yeah,
it was Spencer Dinwiddie too. But it's just playing the game. I think it's really that during that third quarter, second half, it's like anything goes now.
Tommy brought to my attention that you are obviously not total points because you've only played in, I think, 14 clutch games to this point, or 14 total games. But in your clutch games that you played in, you lead the league in points per game in the clutch.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you're describing here is that moment of game on the line, ball in your hands, that actually has all been set up through the first 3.5 quarters of recognizing matchups and coverages.
Right.
And what gives you the confidence in that moment?
It's not something I even like think about. You know what I mean? It's like, you've seen, obviously Dame is top 75 player. So it's like, but I don't even think about it like that. It's just like the way he plays the game. So
Dame time rubbed off on you.
I would. He's hit way more clutch shots than me, but like it's just like how the game goes, and Dame even when like say he learned that from CP3, like just the way that CP sets up one play in the first quarter to set up a play in the fourth. That's exactly what all of the great guards do.
The true sickos.
Yeah, he always says like that's why he feels like he's gonna be able to stay in the league longer than any other young guys, because he feels like a lot of young guys don't think the game that way. They're just playing off pure instinct and talent instead of just thinking about, what you need to do to make the game easier. I mean, if you just pretty much outthink the other team, it makes the game that much easier to play.
I think there's something to be said about you in your second year always taking those mid-range pull-ups too. And I actually remember reading, there was some dialogue on Twitter maybe about this. And there's a tendency as a young player, I think, and I know I had this too. There's a tendency young player to be like, no, I'm going to show you that I can do this, right? When the game actually becomes easier, you're just making the right play, right? And I think that's the maturation specifically for guards that I think just takes time. And to agree, it's like not just guards. Like Brandon Ingram is a great example of this. I really think this. Like the passes he's making now as like their primary half-court shot creator.
Yeah, he could
pass his ass off.
Yeah.
He makes insane that just takes time.
In the post, is either the post or the pick and roll. Like he is hitting that corner pass on the money or that late rotation pass on the money every single time.
He had one last night against Sacramento where he got to his right hand. He wants to finish going right. And like they played pretty good defense, but at the last second, the help defender came over late.
Right on money. Right at the time.
He could have shot like a little, he's long. He could have shot a little floater off glass. Good chance of going in. He threw a bullet pass to the left corner. On time, on target.
I already know.
Cash.
I already know.
That's the maturation.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Do you have a favorite Dame time moment?
Favorite?
Yeah.
Wow. Favorite.
I have one.
What's yours?
Mine is that playoff game against the Nuggets, where
55?
where he just
Oh, yeah.
he just made it was all down the stretch.
That was
too.
actually crazy.
And it was back to back to back. And the reason it's my favorite is because you rewatch that segment of the game, Denver and specifically Austin Rivers, you can't do anything else. And there's that 1-3 he makes.
No, the I think it was the when he did the spin.
Yes.
In front and then stepped all the way back, like completely backwards. People don't understand how hard that shot is. Like, especially at that moment, he's hit like 20 in a row, and it's like in the fourth quarter OT.
Yeah, fourth quarter OT.
And they put in Shaq Harrison specifically just to guard Dame, and Shaq hasn't played the whole game. And he spun and stepped back like backwards. It's not to the side. He went backwards and shot a fadeaway and hit a 3. And I'm like, that might have been. I told him after the game, I said, that might have been the toughest shot I ever seen you shoot, even counting the OKC one.
But there was a shot that he made over Austin, and Austin just drops his head, drops his arm, and is like, "There's nothing else I can do."
Yeah.
So like, it wasn't like there's obviously the singular moments, right? The OKC shot, the shot to beat the Houston Rockets in the playoffs and eliminate them, but that stretch where like. He snatched their soul. That to me was my favorite moment.
Yeah, especially like that whole fourth quarter. It was just like he was unconscious. Like, and that seemed normal. That was not normal to see. Like, and for him to shoot those like all those tough threes. We were down 5. Like in those moments, like most dudes are not even taking that risk of shooting a 3. They're like trying to like get to the basket, get fouled, just trying to play within the game that a lot of players do. But like he's just like he has that ultimate confidence in himself. Like no matter what, I'm about to make it happen.
Everyone that we've talked to and everyone I talk to around the league speaks very highly of Dame as a teammate and a leader. You've talked a little bit about this, but just like you coming into this situation as a kid and getting to play with him and for a couple years there, watch him quite a bit. What did he mean to you and your career?
Man, even from the first time we met, like he was there at my draft workout. He watched me.
He came to your draft workout.
Yeah, he saw me work out for the first time.
That's not normal, by the way.
Yeah, he was there.
It's not normal.
He saw my draft workout, and after the workout, we were just sitting there talking at the, at the little lunchroom, and it started from there. Like he would say that today, like he just saw something in me just from speaking to me and seeing me play, how skilled I was, even though I was, a small kid, but I was playing actually pretty well in that workout against a lot of guards that was coming out of college, and so I was playing pretty well, and he was just speaking to me. He just saw something in me. How he would just say that I had a lot of humbleness to me, and I would just be myself in any situation. And he kind of saw that from my rookie year, where a lot of people was giving me a hard time, and I would just be myself. You know what I mean? No matter what, I wouldn't change. Just because a lot of the vets on the team would give me a hard time about stuff. But he just me watching him is just like the way he carried himself, even through good times and bad times. That's the thing I respect about him more, is that, he kept his humility. Like he's the same person. He works out the same way, just as hard. And he's a top 75 player. And he's the same way since I met him from the first time. And he's succeeded so much since I've been in the league. So just seeing that, I'm just like, if he's doing this, there's no way I can't. You know what I mean? Like, even when we're working out together and he's working out hard, I'm like, I have no reason. Even though I might not feel like working out that day, I'm like, there's no reason for me not to go harder than him.
On the other point, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but early on, it seems like maybe he breathed a level. Like, you already had confidence. I'm not questioning your own confidence, but he breathed a level of confidence and sense of self into you that even with not playing a lot early on, you still felt like you belonged.
For sure. I think, you feel like, internally that you belong. But once you hear it from somebody like that, especially at a young age. It's
Stamps
like
it,
you be
yeah.
like, all right,
Yeah.
I might really have something in me, that he sees that I might not even see right in myself. You know what I mean? And he would say it all the time, like you don't even understand how good you are yet. And I was like, I think I know, but you never know. But I'm going through, everything that he's been through now, especially this year, where they're throwing insane defenses at me, and I'm just like, all right. Sometimes I ask him to this day, like, what do I do? You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah. Like, what do I do? So, like, even like when we played Dallas, like they were trapping me on literally every single screen, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? It's like I don't want to just sit here and take tough shots, but it looks like I might have to just sit here and take tough shots. He's like, sometimes that's just what it is. Like if dudes are taking doing everything in possible way to pass it, you can't just let them take you out the game. You gotta that day is gonna be a tough shot day, and all the best players gonna make it happen regardless.
We brought up the Blazers Pelicans game from 2019 season. I know 2019-20. The next year, which was no fans in the stands year, Stan Van Gundy was our coach for that year.
Mhm.
And we had a game against you guys. I think it was in January. It was shortly after the season started. And our game plan with Dame was we were going to double him on every catch, on every pick and roll, and on every off-ball screen. This motherfucker had 43, I think.
It's crazy.
I remember that.
It
game.
was
Yes.
wild.
Yeah.
It was wild.
You know what's crazy? We had we landed and played that day.
That's right.
We did because I forgot we got stuck in OKC or something, and we couldn't fly out that night. But we had to land and go straight to the arena and play you guys, and winning, which was crazy. But like that's the thing I was like say about him. Like he would find a way no matter what the game plan was. Like boxing one, like I've seen like maybe like 2 or 3 boxing ones this year, and I'm like I don't know what to do.
I got the points right, by the way. He did have 43. I got the month wrong. It was mid-February. He also had 16 assists.
He had a couple against
16 assists.
He had a couple against you guys
Crazy.
where he went crazy on you. I have a question for both of you, but for you, Jay, specifically about how just sort of special it is to be a vet like this and have like a young guy who technically is like competition. You know what I mean? You do similar things, and it's like some guys might be like intimidated by that and a little bit like, oh, I don't want this young dude stepping on my turf, but actually having the mentality to be not just like not, insecure, defensive about it, but actually like actively supportive and helping, basically in a way, like helping find your own replacement, just like how unique that is, just in the league overall.
I'll kind of speak for Dame here because I know the type of person he is. I can speak for myself on this too. I think you need a vet and a player that's secure. Like Dame's a secure person.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm a secure person. Like when I was really like a vet was like Philly and New Orleans, and we drafted Landry Shamet. Guess who I shot with every day after practice? Guess who I talked to every time he came to the bench? Landry Shamet. Like that was my guy. I was like, I hope he gets to have the type of career I have. Then I go to New Orleans, and it was Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Like we had dinner together. We talked after every game. I was his hype man. Like I saw something in him, right? To me, when you get older, and you'll experience this because you're not quite there yet.
No.
You're not really a vet till you get to like
yet.
year 7.
Not
year
yet.
7, 8.
Yeah.
But you realize like the people, and I think back to my, my own careers, like Rashard Lewis, Keon Dooling, my rookie year when I was really struggling. I'd go get a 5-minute run and score 2 buckets, and I'd come to the bench, and and he'd just be like, yo, you're going to make a lot of money in this league, man. You're going to be all right. Like, I still remember that. Those things matter.
Keon
and so
Dooling.
who, by the way, was caught up in the health scandal, whatever. But the thing about it is you realize like you just want to pass it along. Like all the gifts that you got, the free game, like all the gifts that you got, I need to then give to somebody. I can't take it with me. I got to give to somebody else. And so I found a lot of meaning in that. And, we haven't asked Dame about that, but I know he's done this for a lot of young guys, and I'm sure he finds meaning in that too.
For sure. I think I feel like that's what it's all about, just paying it forward. Especially a lot of as you get older, you kind of understand like what it means to impact another player, and just carrying on that. Not want to say tradition, but the way things should be. You feel like you have a responsibility to make sure the league doesn't get too out of control when it comes to like young players being good and doing crazy things and stuff like that. So I feel like that's what vets are here for. And I think nobody can teach these young players, not somebody you bring in from that hasn't played in the NBA. I feel like somebody that has actually been in that situation needs to teach that stuff.
Yes, I agree with you on that completely. And that's the value. And two, it's the value of having players, ex-players on coaching staffs.
Yeah. I
You know what I
mean, you
mean?
do see a lot of that now.
Yeah, I'm sure there's stuff Chauncey has talked to you about,
sure.
right? Chauncey
sure.
lived it. The whole
For
thing,
sure.
like, he's the guy, right?
And that's what I feel like that's what helps a lot of the young guys kind of embrace a player's coach like that, is that, you understand that he's been through it. He's been through everything in the league.
He really has.
He's been through a lot, you
Yeah.
know, so you kind of understand like his journey, and he understands like exactly what needs to be done in order for a young player to get out of a slump, in order to get better each and every day, and like create a winning culture.
What have you seen with the team now, especially with some of the young guys? Obviously, there's a huge amount of talent. Maybe the record isn't where you want it to be, but like the flashes have been there. What do you see with some of the young guys looking forward that you're just like personally excited about?
Man, we got a lot of young guys, and then they, I guess you could say like I'm just thinking about how good everybody can be collectively, and when we're like really ready to win. And like I said, like Scoot, Shaedon is like, they're like all world talents for sure. Like Scoot understands the game, better than any 19-year-old I've ever met. Like obviously that I've met. Obviously you got guys that came into the league like LeBron and that just was all world thinkers, but he has the instincts of being a great point guard. He just has to experience, each and every night how people are guarding him and what he wants, and the different type of shots he wants to take, like how I had to learn, took it on those mid-range shots and they're just giving it to me. But you can see it there. Like he has the humbleness of, somebody that's coming in. He was a number 3 pick, and it's easy to like him. You know what I mean? That's just the qualities that you need as a point guard and as, a possible leader of a team. And so, I see a lot in him. And I'm always talking to him and stuff about, during the game, of how to operate during the game and how to see what shots you want to take at this certain moment, or what shot do you want to give somebody else. Because as a point guard, you have to think about, you got 3 other scorers out there. You gotta give them the ball, or they not going to play for you. You know what I mean, like that. So he has to be conscious about that right now. And Shaedon, Shaedon is as talented as he gets in the NBA for sure.
I remember when we had Darius Garland on, he talked about how he wants his teammates. He takes a conscious effort in the first quarter to get his teammates going.
Yep.
He sees Donovan Mitchell going. He's like, all right, I know I need to feed Donovan. I know I need to get Evan going. I know I need to throw a couple lobs or dump off passes to Jarrett. And then when it's the fourth quarter, like I kind of just make the right play. If it's for me, it's for me. If it's not, it's not. And like I made the comparison at the time, like the best guy I played with like that was CP. And he's probably the best guy of this generation. Where at this point of the game, like me on the Clippers, like first quarter, I'm good. I'm going. First 6 minutes of the third quarter, I'm going. Then he's like, all right, now I got to get Blake going. Maybe towards the end of the second quarter when he comes back in the game, CP's like, all right, I got to make a couple shots just to get my scoring going. And then it's fourth quarter time, and it's like balls in my hand, I'm making the play, right?
For sure.
That's like the evolution of a great point guard, which I hope Scoot becomes. I'm glad you said that about Shaedon, because I love Shaedon Sharpe. And I think early on last season, this is when he was probably playing like 15 to 20 minutes a game and Dame was still playing. Like I saw him making like basketball plays, not just like, oh, I can jump out of the gym or I can knock it down an open shot. Like he would make these timely back cuts out of the corner or the slot cut on a baseline drive. Like he felt like he had a really good feel for the game beyond just being this all-world athlete. And you talk about him having all world talent. Like what is this guy's ceiling? Like how good can he be?
As good as he wants to be, I think so. He just makes the game look like almost too easy at times. Like the back cuts, that's just instincts. That's just him playing the game. He's not like he's finally starting to grasp actually how to think the game in moments and what he wants to do. So I just can't explain. Everybody sees it. Like, can jump out the gym, can shoot the ball, can handle the ball, can make every shot. He does it instinctually. Like he shot one shot last night, where he drove left, did a fake shimmy, and did a little fadeaway, and that was just instincts. There's just stuff that not everybody does.
That everybody can do.
Nobody. A lot of people can move like that, and then that's one of the one things that Dame always taught me like in evaluating players, look how they move, when they do things, that lets you know if somebody really has it or not. You know what I mean? Just the way they move out there in the basketball court.
I do that with my 9 and 10-year-olds that I coach. I'm serious.
He does.
I'm like, how do you move?
Yeah.
How do you move?
That's what my trainer says. Are you you're a great mover?
Yes.
He says you're a great mover.
Yes. That's what I mean. By the way, I told myself no rants today.
Do it.
Nope.
Do it.
No rants today. This is not a
You
rant.
had a great rant last week.
This is not a rant. Sometimes people can get a little fired up when I make a point and I do it demonstrably. So this is not a rant. It's just an observation because I was having this conversation with somebody over the weekend. The greatest players from every era, if you gave them the resources that we have now and the spacing and all of this stuff, they would be great. Like specifically starting around 1980 when Magic and Larry came in.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have no doubt Magic and Larry would be great players in today's NBA. Michael Jordan would be a great player no matter when he played. Like all that stuff. The observation that I have made is the average player moves differently.
For sure.
The average player. The average 5-man, I'm not going to name names here. I'm not talking about Hakeem. I'm not talking about Shaq. The average 5-man, the guy coming off the back of the bench.
They move way better than they did back in the day, for sure.
Then versus now.
I
It's
agree.
two different things.
No, it's a
the
different
average
game.
6'7", 6'8" guy. It's a different game.
It's a different game.
It's a different game.
It's a different game.
They move differently. Athletes, they move differently.
It's a different. It's a.
I didn't say better.
I
didn't say better. I said differently.
I know. You know. I seen a couple of rants that you was talking about.
They'll find a way to get mad.
You was talking about, obviously the GOAT discussion.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, for sure. The game just changed so much, and it's crazy. Like the evolution of basketball players in general. How we just a little bit more athletic now. Like on average, they're more athletic.
Yes.
And they just move better. Like basketball wise, like a lot of the players can do, what players back then just couldn't do. It just wasn't a part of the game.
It wasn't a part of the game. They didn't train that way. Like the mobility stuff we do now, the day-to-day maintenance of your body, like it's just different. It's just different. It's just different.
JJ and Derek White were talking about this last week about just the level of talent in the league right now, just across the board. We were talking about it a little bit before we got on. How do you approach that in the West, particularly, where it's just like, you got teams like Memphis with Ja, you got the Lakers, like teams are out of the play-in game, and these teams are, they have all-world players. Like there's just no easy nights.
Yeah, it's not anymore. I think that's just happened in the last couple of years though. I feel like my first year, there were a lot of like bad teams, in my opinion. Like we would go in some nights, obviously we were a way better team, but we would go in some nights, it was like, all right, these dudes, like we would go like 4 or 5 games where it's like, all right, these guys aren't good. Like it's gonna be an easy night for us. But now it's like every night it's like somebody on the team is like it's a problem.
I can't remember who was it recently against, but Terry Rozier had a night the other night. Like he's been on a tear.
Yeah.
But he had a night the other night where the Hornets won.
He's had a few. He did one against Brooklyn where he had 40.
He's just like, Terry Rozier's a monster.
It's a problem.
He's a monster.
The problem.
And he plays on the Hornets, who are one of 4 teams that have a negative net rating, or negative 10 net rating or worse. Like they're a bad team. There's like 4 bad teams. There's 4 bad teams. But then those 4 bad teams have Cade Cunningham, Victor Wembanyama, who am I missing here? Terry Rozier, LaMelo Ball.
Kuzma's having a great year.
Kuzma's having a great year. Tyus Jones doing his thing.
And you got Kuzma, you got Poole.
Yeah.
Like whether they say Jordan Poole's having a bad year or not, but people still
respect his talent.
You gotta respect that he can go off of 40 in the game. Like, so you can't take him lightly, even if you think that he's having a bad year. And Kuzma is gonna put him up.
Yeah.
Every game. So you have to. He's averaging 23.
To Tommy's point about this season and being in the West and sort of the first post-Dame year for the Portland Trailblazers, how do you approach this season? Given that you came into a team that made the Western Conference Finals your rookie year, was a playoff team a couple years after that, or for the next 2 years, it wasn't really till Dame got hurt 2 years ago, and then you guys not being in contention, him sitting out the last little part, that you really weren't on a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming into this year in what is described as a rebuild, like how do you approach this season in terms of that stuff we were talking about right at the beginning? The growth of player, the growth of team.
Yeah, we got to establish an identity for ourselves. And that's the thing we're trying to figure out. Like, there's a lot of things to figure out, like as a player individually and as a team, how we want to be each and every night. Do we want to be this gritty, scrappy team, or one of those teams that just have a lot of talent and be better than everybody else offensively and defensively? So we're figuring that. We're trying to figure that out right now, when we want to establish an identity from the beginning. From the beginning of the year, we had a conversation about how we want to be during the year. And we want to be one of those teams that, other teams hate coming to play. Just one of those teams that, like, all right, they're going to be doing a lot, picking up full, scrapping, and that's the team we want to be, along with developing all these guys with a lot of skill. And, that's the thing. That's the part where we're at. And then for me individually, it's just I want to be able to show what I can do fully. You know what I mean? And show, obviously, being in Portland is not the best. You don't get the best recognition. I know that for sure. But, I just still want to, once they look, if they look, I want to show that, hey, look, this guy did, pretty good this year.
I think it's hard to be on sort of the national radar circuit of buzz when you're not on a good team.
For sure.
I think people respect talented players. There's always the trap of like, oh, he's a numbers guy on a bad team. I get that. However, Dame made a bunch of All-Star games and All-NBA games in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
Tyrese Halliburton in Indiana is leading all Eastern guards in All-Star voting.
For sure.
Which I was shocked at that number, by the way.
Leading by a lot.
I was shocked. Like way up there. You can get the recognition. But I think so much of our league, all the stuff, end of season award, All-Stars, maybe not contracts necessarily, because if you're a 1A, you're going to get paid on any team. But the recognition part, I think, happens so much with winning versus just numbers.
For sure. I would say that's very true. Like I don't think like Dame would get as much recognition if he didn't actually win here. You know what I mean? Like if he didn't make the West Conference Finals, he didn't make the playoffs like the first 7 years of his career. And I think that's what it attributes to. That's just something that right now is just like I you know what I mean? I'm trying to propel us to get better and for us to win, so we can start getting recognition as a group and as individual players, but it's still a process. So I'm just still trying to, handle my business at the same time.
I understand that. I want to go back to one thing about the movement and players moving differently. Our guy Nate Jones, who is maybe your biggest fan, by the way, maybe right after Dame. Nate Jones loves you. He was talking about this on Twitter recently, and Anfernee's a guy who you're an insane athlete, and you're not small. Were you 6'5"?
Like 6'4".
6'4". Okay.
6'4".
All right.
You're like 6'5".
No, I'm not. I'm 6'4". I'm 6'4".
Okay.
6'4", large human being, insane athlete. Dunk contest, all that stuff, right? You don't have this like insane body of posters
No.
because you can't. Like physically, you are going verticality with 7-foot guys that are also insane athletes. You are driving against a 6'7" guy with a 7'1" wingspan who's on your hip, even in a blow by. Like
For sure.
That's what I mean by that. It's like this guy, if you went to the YMCA and played, or you went and played in the 1960s, like it's just a different thing. You move differently. And this is coming from a terrible, by NBA standards, a terrible athlete.
But I think go to that point. I think it started when I was younger. Like my dad, I was always a smaller player. I didn't, like in high school, I wasn't athletic at all. Like it didn't come till later on in high school where I just instantly started jumping out the gym out of nowhere. So my dad always said, like, once you get older, those dudes are gonna get a little taller. Those dudes gonna be sitting there waiting for you to block a shot. So all these easy layups is not gonna be that easy. So that's when I started developing a floater. I was shooting floaters in high school. But I mean, even though I was taller than everybody else, just because my dad put that in my brain, like, all right, this dude, if I go in here and think that I'm gonna make an easy layup, he's gonna send it out of the gym. So it started when I was younger, and that carried on to when I got into the league. Like, even though I'm athletic, I can't just out athlete somebody that's taller than me and can jump just as high as me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, like, you see it with guys like CJ's game, like he's not, this ultra athletic player, but he's a
great mover, though.
Great mover. Crafty.
Great mover.
Oh my goodness. One of the best movers.
He's a great mover.
For sure.
Yeah.
And he's just crafty with his float game and his hooks. And so I kind of took that from him along with being athletic while doing it. So if I'm doing a hook, I'm jumping a little higher, but I'm still trying to be crafty with it and get it over somebody. So I try to combine the two of being athletic and also being crafty with my floaters and jumping high on the floaters and jumping high on the in and outs to the layups.
Yeah.
You feel like Ant and Ja are the only two who sort of consistently are still catching bodies?
Well, I was actually going to say, it was a great question because I was actually going to go there too, but I was going to say it's remarkable when you think about Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
That was like, he doesn't do it as much anymore, but you still see flashes of it. Russ did this as a guard at 6'3" into his 30s. Ja, still young. Ant, still young. But at some point, they're likely going to have to be like, all right, now I got to get crafty. I can't just rely on the athleticism.
No, but yeah, I think Russ is another, like, obviously he's an all-world athlete. And I think he's taller than what people think he is. Like, he's big. Like, he's a big guard.
Yeah.
Like, they say he's 6'3" or 6'4", but he looks like he's 6'5"
He
out
plays
there.
like he's like 6'7".
He's big, strong, and he's just physically imposing his will on the game each and every night. And that's impressive what he was doing, how he's been doing all these years, is that he's like, his mentality is different from everybody else's, no matter what the situation is. And that's what the thing I respect about him is, like, even the situation now he with the Clippers, like coming off the bench, and you're just like, he's a Hall of Famer. Like, people look up to Russ, and you could this just speaks to the type of teammate he is, type of person he is.
Somebody said the other day, I can't remember who it was, they were talking about 3-level scoring, which last night for you, a great example of that we need to expand it to 4-level scoring. The 4th level being floaters. Because I think for some guys, it's like the wear and tear of trying to get to the rim and out jump people or jump with people, like, it takes its toll. Float game, super important. I'd add a fifth level, which is the step back 3. Right? There's levels to threes.
What about the 4-point line?
Just not enough guys that shoot it. There's like, I say this every time. There's like 3 or 4 guys that consistently shoot from that far away. Right?
I would agree.
Dame, Steph, Trey. Eric Gordon spots up from there.
Yeah.
But it's just not like, so anyways, I was thinking about this, like, to me, there might be 5 levels of scoring. So obviously the rim, middies, 3-point line. But let's
floater?
add in the float game.
I don't
let's
know.
add in the ability to hit step back three. That's the fifth level. Because the
That's
step
kinda
back
hard.
three is everything, dude.
Yeah, it is.
That's what's unlocked so many people's games.
It is. But it's crazy because like you see some dudes take even watching some on film of myself, I sometimes shoot floaters at the free throw line. It's just, but it feels like it's closer than what it is.
Momentum.
It has to be something like that. The free throw line in the rim feels very close. So I catch myself just shooting a floater from there, and I don't know. I just think I get it from CJ, to be honest. Like he was told me at an early age, like, you all athletic and all, but you just shoot the floater and save yourself a couple years.
Who are your 5-level scorers right now?
5.
Luka for sure. Luka's up there for sure.
Young.
They can do all that. Trey for sure. Steph for sure.
Dame.
Notice it's all guards. I'm trying to think.
Anthony Edwards.
Low-key Jokic might be a 5-level scorer.
He is too. He probably has the best touch that I've ever seen.
I don't think Joel shoots floaters, so I can't throw him in there. But his game in that little 12 to 15 area where he catches it on the little pocket pass and just faces you up, and he shoots a normal shot though, so it's not really a floater. Is there anybody else?
Book.
Shea.
And Edwards. Shea.
I don't know enough about Ant's float game.
Yeah, I don't see him do much.
Edwards is certainly a 3-level scorer. Shea, I'll put in there.
Yeah,
I'll put in there.
Shea's
Book
for sure.
Book has to be there too.
Book's floater in the float range is really a pull-up though.
That's true.
He does a lot of pull-ups in those short mid-range areas.
I just think about Steph shooting like 18-foot one-handed floaters.
It's crazy that he does that stuff underhanded too.
It's why.
That's the crazy part. Like I rarely see him shoot a floater like that. But like it's always underhanded.
Yeah.
And
like he'll shoot a wrist snap floater from like 17. Yeah. But one-handed.
Mm-hmm.
But one-handed.
But like the underhand like layups that he does from that distance, like that's unbelievable. Because everybody tries to like kind of simulate it, but like that's just all touch and like feeling like just pure talent.
Yeah.
What's your range now? We asked, but Dame's been on a couple times. But last time he came out, we talked about this with him. What's your distance where you're like, I'm comfortable at?
I would probably say maybe a step in front of the logo. That's a shot that I feel like if I can get a catch and shoot, they just swing it to me and I get the rhythm, I'll shoot that anytime.
It's impressive.
That's impressive.
It's tough to guard.
All right, you've been a great guest, man. This has been fun. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. Thanks for coming by, bud.